And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Put your thumbs up and say it's Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo, Tickety Boo, everything's Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo, son. Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo! You ever notice how you'll hang on to stuff that you know is holding you back, jobs that drain you, people who don't really see you, habits that keep you stuck, but you feel safe because they're yours? It's daft when you say it out loud, but there's a comfort in what's familiar, even when it's slowly ruining and draining your life. In this episode of Tickety Boo, we're digging into that fear of letting go, the stuff you know won't take you where you want to go, but somehow you're still gripping with it with both hands. Even if you've ever said, I don't want this anymore, but I don't know who I am without it, this episode is for you. I think we're all guilty of hanging on to things that, we know don't serve us anymore, jobs, habits, people, even when that stuff has expired. I know for me, one of the things I was guilty of was staying in situations where I felt like I had to keep proving my worth, bending myself, fixing situations and not walking away. For you guys, does that resonate with you? Or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And for me, I would say it's people, patterns and behaviours. Some of my behaviours have been really unhealthy, as I've shared. But I think it was that it was so fun and what will I do instead? But there's no room to grow and to evolve, but you have to be willing to not necessarily walk away, but you have to be willing to let those friendships go, those behaviours go. That, if I'd continued doing cocaine, for example, I wouldn't have been doing what I'm doing now. So my party lifestyle definitely would have held me back. There's no way I could have written the number of books I've written. There's no way I would be doing what I'm doing. But it was, I remember reaching a crossroads where I had to make a choice.
Do you think, we'll come back to you in a moment, Ian, but just on that point, in that moment, do we know and are we ignoring it?
Yes, I certainly did. Maybe, at the time I probably didn't, because I was like, you think this is it, I'll never make new friends, I'll never have as much support network. I used to judge a friendship group by who would pick up the phone at 3:00 in the morning and bail me out of jail. Not that I've been in jail, but it's just, look what I've just been through. You can evolve, you'll get new friends, and I have made so many amazing new friends. And I've still got some of my old friends, so if they're listening, it's the people that are stepping up and helping, the people that I turn to. It's so I have been evolving, and certainly at the time, did I think my unhealthy habits were destroying? In the time, no, but yeah, come on, I did. I really did.
What about you, Ian?
Mine would be a lot about relationships as well, friendships. When I was younger, people that I followed that were, or tried to impress that were not good for me. In sort of recent years, it's probably more people that are good people, but the habits that you form while being part of that group weren't necessarily good for you. It's like habitual drinking. Now, I like a drink, I like a dance, I like a laugh, but if you imagine you go on a lad's holiday to Benidorm, you have 3 days on the beer and you come back and you're absolutely destroyed for a week afterwards. And I know people that, and was part of that friendship, and it all felt great at the time, but you'd start on a Friday and then you'd meet on the Saturday and you'd meet on the Sunday. So that's a 3-day you end. So what you did to yourself in Benidorm, you literally do every week. So you ruin the first half of your week, not performing, feeling rubbish, you're physically not good, you've got anxiety going through the roof for your first day and a half of the week. Now, as I've probably gone off topic a little bit, but
No, I know, but
it wasn't about, they're not bad people, it's not about ditching them out of my life, but it's just about sort of reprioritising them and maybe just distancing myself from those behaviours.
Well, do you think, because I just said it's losing friends and choosing whether you're going to move on, do you think that's more about the awareness that if we don't make changes, or in that moment we're losing ourselves? So we're losing ourselves if we continue with that behaviour.
I think it is a fear of losing ourselves, but also not wanting to look like the idiot who's made the wrong decision in the moment.
Well, of course, and it's the social pressure as well. That's what everybody's doing. Why aren't you doing it? So you've got that social pressure and that expectation that you're going to be there, and you want to be part of the group. It's that sort of ancient tribal thing where you want to be one of the gang because that's where you're safe and that's where you're protected.
Feel stuck in the situation rather than feeling regret.
Yeah, but then 12 months on, you sort of sit there and you find you're having the same conversations with the same people. Nothing's changed.
Same hangover.
People looking for drama where there is no drama because that's their life. And you sort of you sort of go, okay, this is all good, but
When you look at the analogy of the lads' holiday in Spain, and they're all out on a bender and they're all drinking, do you want to be the guy that goes, do you know what, guys, I'm just going to sit by the pool today and read my book?
well,
But let's be honest, as much as you may want to do that, part of you is going to go, what they're going to think, what they're going to say. I'm not conforming to the unconscious contract that we signed up to when we come on this.
I agree 100%, but there's a difference where we are now. Now, I agree there is a social, but you go there for that reason. And that kind of holiday, I'm not promoting that, but what it is they're one-offs. They're one-offs, and they promote social interaction, bonding, connections, and a break from the really help. But when that becomes your habitual habit every week, now that's a different story.
But also I think there's that thing as well, like everybody knows what it is. Or who said that? Who wrote that? Who where in the contract did I sign up going, yeah, I'm coming with you, but I must comply to this set of rules?
Well, yeah,
We're conforming to an unconscious social construct in that situation, aren't we?
Yeah.
I feel like I should be. If you were the guy who went, I'm coming and I'll have a laugh, but I'm not drinking.
to be fair, that would certainly with any social group. I mean, that would be it wouldn't be expected, but it would be and you get some stick, but it wouldn't be a big deal. Would you expect that?
But a lot of people would go, I need to go on that holiday because I don't want the tribe to drop me or to think that I'm not part of them or I'm not interested. But rather than kind of going, do you know what? I'm really busy at the moment. I've got a lot on my plate. I've been ill. I've been this. I've been that. I'm going to leave it this time. Go and have a great time, guys. A lot of people are like, am I just complying here because I don't want to feel regret or,
I don't want to feel outside the loop.
Yeah,
I don't
want
I
to feel
don't,
outside
I don't
the
want to
loop.
lose my relevance. I think.
So we tend to keep things going purely because they feel
Comfortable.
safe, comfortable. It's expected of us. There's an
Familiar.
expectation.
But what's the underlying feeling? But is that fear? Fear of rejection? Fear of
Failure. What does that mean about my identity? Who am I? Because if you didn't have that stuff and those connections and those experiences, who am I? Like what we were talking about before.
exactly. What's wrong with me? Why don't I enjoy being the same as everybody else? Well, you're an individual for a start, but that's.
Yeah, and you get this, wait till so-and-so comes out with us. They're absolutely mental. They'll be doing all of this and they're doing all of that. And then you're all sitting there with this expectation of how this person's going to conform. And then suddenly they don't. And you're like, there's something wrong with them. They're not living up to the label. They're not conforming to what we expect. And we
think it's easier to live up to that label on what's expected of us. I mean, I certainly have in the past. Whereas we think that familiarity and fulfilling those roles, it kind of gives us a false sense of security and a false sense of control. But actually, it can be at the expense of ourselves. And what we perceive as freedom is actually, we're not free, because if we were free, we would fully express, you know what, I don't want to do that today. That's freedom, is when you have the strength to be yourself.
We actually have a very recent experience that we were both at that we can bring to the table. So we go on a reunion every year.
Yes, I've heard about these reunions.
Yes, yeah. And there's always some kind of activity. And this one thing that we did not long ago when I was ill, we repeated an activity that we did maybe 3 years ago, which was basically flinging yourself down a load of rapids on a bodyboard. And the first time we did it, one of the guys broke 3 of his ribs and punctured his lung. So we knew there's the opportunity to injure yourself. Anyway, we go back 3 years later. I'm ill, so I miss it. This lot go out. One injured himself and didn't have a great time. 2 others came back and one felt like they nearly drowned and another one had a great experience. And we all kind of sat in this living room in the afternoon in this place that we hired. Everyone looked like a burst ball. And slowly, one by one, everyone went, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. And it's like...
So did you have the joy of missing out?
I didn't have fear of missing out. I was getting WhatsApp messages going, are you okay? We'll be back soon. By the way, it's utter carnage. There was a guy in the boot of a Range Rover that hurt himself down to drive back up the river. And yeah. And kind of like weirdly, a lot of people in that room were all kind of feeling like, I'm kind of done with that level of needing to prove ourselves, but I need somebody else to say it so that I can then step in and go, I'm with you there. You know, it's like we need just one person to leave the flock and then the flock can lead. And there was a conversation going, next year, should we just go somewhere warm and sit by a pool? Yeah. Let's do, but I use that as an extreme example, but how many times does that happen in your life? You know, you stay in situations, you conform and you keep going along because it's familiar. But it's not actually who you are. And, you know, the weird thing about fear of missing out is it's not always about fun or excitement. It's about stepping away from stuff that you know, even when it's a bit crap.
But again, we don't, for exactly the reasons you just said. For the reasons of familiarity, it's good to just go, like you said, with the tribe, just say yes, go with it, because the familiarity there is the reaction that you're going to get from everybody because you're not sticking your head above the parapet and saying no.
Well, there's another angle I've got to add into this. So I was, as we know, I've been away for a while and I was staying with a friend of mine called Joe and we were going to be going to something I've always wanted to go to, and it was a Pink Floyd experience. It was going to be in this beautiful cathedral down near Cardiff. And I really wanted to go. I was also getting really exhausted processing and doing all the things I'd been doing. And I was like, just give me an hour, like I'll chill, because I wanted to go. It wasn't about the people I was going to go with. She was the only person I knew, but this was something I've like always wanted to go to. And I love Pink Floyd. They were like my first love. And I ended up not going just because I was so exhausted. And I was staying with my friend Joe and we're literally calling it, do you have Jomo? And I was like, no. And then it got to a point when I was just sat there and I was feeling super chilled. I'd actually had a good shower and I was sat in the garden and I was like, oh yeah, no, this is where I want to be. But my God, did I want to go and listen to the Pink Floyd gig? But so it was interesting. So that was all about me. So that wasn't with a familiar group. So I wasn't living up to anybody's expectation. So it's just for our listeners, it's reminding them that sometimes, even if it's when it's something we really want to do, letting go of that to realize actually what does my nervous system need right now? What do I need right now? Like you being sick, choosing not to go and participate with the boys, me choosing not to go to something that I really wanted to go to.
Well, weirdly, when I was sick and I couldn't go and do the event that they all battered themselves on, I ended up sat in the house talking to somebody I've known since I was a kid, and we connected and had conversations that if I'd gone and done that, we wouldn't have had those conversations. And I think, and we actually both sat there and went, this has actually weirdly turned out for the best, because we've been able to reconnect in a way that we wouldn't have done if I'd gone and done that activity. And I think sometimes it's just our presence with people. It's not so much about what we're doing or where we're going.
Well, it's being present with yourself or with someone else versus performance.
Yeah, I'm wondering that sort of particular dynamic that we're talking about, we're kind of trying to prove to ourselves a little bit.
It's whether we're trying to prove it to ourselves. That particular group, no matter what we say, we know we're not going to be, there'd be banter, but we're not going to be rejected.
No.
Nobody's going to.
No.
So why have we got that feeling to conform, because there's no fear.
No.
Why would we fear these
know.
people that we know will
Yeah.
accept us no matter what? I can understand in a situation where you're not so close to it, a work environment, a toxic relationship, something like that, where familiarity, you stay in that comfort zone because maybe you fear rejection, you don't want to be an outcast. But in that situation, I just find that a bit strange that nobody really wanted to say anything. But we know that we won't be ridiculed.
I know we do. I don't know what it is. This is a part of us that kind of holds us back. Like the idea of letting go of it just feels like too much. Like I don't know. It's weird. We all do it. We're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of it.
Well, we have an aversion to loss, and emotionally, like if we're choosing to lose something, that can be really fearful and say, "Oh, I don't want to do that." And it's psychologically, it's a cognitive bias that we have, because we feel grief, we feel loss really deeply, and it can feel stronger than the possible outcome of joy and excitement and happiness or peacefulness. And so that fear can keep us stuck. However, there does come a point, I believe, that when we can look at that, where we realize that actually to stay stuck in this repeating pattern and cycles and behaviors is actually less scary than letting it go and moving forward. When we can get to that point, that can be the tipping point, and being brave enough to take that risk, whatever the situation, pattern, behavior, friends might be.
So I think growth will look like losing something in order to gain something else.
Letting go of.
Letting go. Not
prefer.
losing's probably not the right word. Letting go of.
go.
Creating space for
Yes.
something else.
It's letting go of the need for certainty. It's also this thing where you stop allowing the risk of your negative bias is always weighing up.
Yeah.
Am I potentially going to lose or gain from this situation? So sometimes familiarity outweighs the potential benefits that could come from out, because your mind just wants security.
And I think we all have these things in our life that are fine, where we're okay-ish with them, but they're not really who we are anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of doing that, but in reality, I'd rather not be.
I've got an example of that. I was talking to a friend about a job that he's thinking of taking. And this new potential role, it's within a new department. He's been offered a chance to develop a new department. And it's everything he wants to do. The money's better, but it's a project role that could move forwards. But then on the other hand, he's being offered less money to stay where he is, but it's got the security and the certainty. So though he's sort of willing to give up long-term game for that promise of steady income, even though it's mundane and it will keep him with it where he is. So it's that feeling of security and a steady paycheck that will stop him from actually going and following on from what he really wants to do, which is where the great stuff happens.
Yeah, I suppose but then again, it's your why. Are you working for success and recognition and advance yourself, or are you working because you have a life you want to live in a certain type of way, and actually taking this opportunity will take me further away from that or closer to it?
Everybody all the clients that I work with are already successful, and they're all coming looking for that. I'm successful, but they have a really deep and meaningful why they've built this business, why they have gone down this career, started this, whatever it is, but there's something missing, or they want to, and it's not necessarily about having an impact now and being recognized for that, but it's connecting with meaning and purpose on a deeper level, not just with
status
and logistics.
I get what you're both saying,
Yeah.
but where I was trying to go very clumsily is it sometimes familiarity makes you make decisions that are fear-based and not logic-based. And that's the bit that I try and encourage my clients and friends not to do. Don't make your decisions based on fear of uncertainty, fear of rejection. If
there's no fear, what would you do?
Well, you've got logic, without fear. Well, if you knew you could not fail, what would you do? And that fear of failures holds so many people back, but it takes a lot of courage, especially the first couple of times, to stem away from fear and make those logic and sometimes even heart-led decisions.
Yeah, and I think, asking yourself, if you stop clinging on to all this stuff through fear, what would happen? Because I think we've all been guilty of maintaining or keeping stuff going that actually, if you stop put the effort in, would collapse.
Yeah.
Yes.
How much stuff are you propping up because you fear what will happen if you don't? Not many people do an audit. Write down, sit down with a pen and a piece of paper and write down what you're holding on to that's clearly gone past its expiry date. A habit, a role, a relationship, a belief.
Yeah. And another thing you can do with that, and it's something I wanted to bring up, is along with that, because we can pick up on the things that we should be letting go of, and we can take a step each week to loosen that. But it's also, what am I afraid of losing? So, and who would I be without this story? So whether it's that the thing that we're familiar with, it's like, so who would you be without that? And we all tell ourselves stories around these things.
Yeah, but that's the really cool. Rather than who am I without it? Who could I be without it? How about that for just a slight change?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I try and steer myself.
Yeah.
We go back to that reunion group that we talk about, and there's an element of people that don't engage or make promises and don't come along, and we're all guilty of falling into judgment and what's wrong with them and all the rest of it. Maybe they just don't like what we do.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not their cup of tea.
Maybe they want to come and be somewhere in the sun and lie by the pool.
Maybe it's a lack of confidence. They don't see us as often as we see. A lot of us see or speak to each other more often, or we're in the group, so we communicate more.
Or maybe they're like, you're all mental, you fling yourself down rivers and do activities, and I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to do that anymore. I'm happy to come along and sit and have a pint or a chat with you.
But there are people in the group that do that. I think some of it could be confidence, maybe self-esteem. What am I going to talk about?
Have you noticed I've definitely noticed it, in different groups, whether it's your family or certain friendship groups, you unconsciously drop into a role.
Yeah. Oh, it's really easy to see others do it. That's sometimes easier.
It's like this group, you play that role,
Yeah.
but over here, you play a completely different role.
Yes, and I've got a perfect example. Now, a guy that I train with, very, very close friend, and we kind of keep each other on the straight and narrow. And anyway, he won't mind me talking about this. He'd lost his sister. He was in a bad way, still carrying a lot of baggage from when he was younger. He wasn't in a great marriage. He'd drink to the point where he'd get as drunk as he could, so he'd have to go home as fast as possible so he wouldn't have to interact with people. And over the course of, we only did the one therapy session, but we talk a lot when we're together. And over that time, he started to find himself. And he's now happy with himself. And he's got a whole list of people he's not interested in being negative people. He's got a whole different outlook. He's now out of that relationship and dating. He knows he will only go with somebody that makes him laugh, or he's got a whole load of people that he's not interested in because they take away. Anyway, regardless of all that, he went away on a trip away with some lads that we've known for another group that we've known for a long, long time. And as soon as he went away, he fell back into the role, his old role, because those people had the same expectation, and he walked back in and he felt like he didn't have a great weekend at all, because he just, as soon as he was around those people, that was how he felt, and that's how he fell back into. And it actually took him backwards, quite a way.
I think we need to be really careful of complying to these unconscious contracts, these unconscious roles that we adapt, we take on board. Awareness is absolutely key in changing it. But we don't, when we become aware, sometimes there's a resistance to change it, because it's like, what are they going to say when I don't do what they expect?
So what would your advice be for our listeners?
I would say, without an air of arrogance, do what's right for you, not what you think others think you should be doing. fall back. What's my why?
Yeah.
What's my reason here? And if you're guilt tripped or made to feel inferior or whatever because you've decided to make a choice that's right for you, they're not your people.
That's it.
They are. They should be like, do what you need to do. Absolutely, yeah, it's cool. But, I'm just happy to see you. To spend time with you. You don't have to comply to the narrative that's there.
And doing what's right for you, that's the freedom.
It is. That is true freedom.
I would say, as well as the other stuff we've spoken about, is to be a bit easier on yourself. Change that in a narrative. If you're constantly telling yourself that you're not good enough, why would they want me there? That's what is then familiar in your head. So that is what you accept. Be kind to yourself. Tell yourself, I'm going to have a great day. And I mean, I think this is at the base of manifestation. But tell yourself the better side of the story. Big yourself up. So then when that happens, that feels familiar and you're willing to accept it. So you don't self-sabotage it.
Yeah. No, I think that's, a bit of real talk.
Yeah.
And that will also feed you confidence, which will then help in other ways. So.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that little chat has made people ask questions, reflect on things that are going in their life, do an audit, look at some of those beliefs, some of those relationships, the habits, the roles that you play. Where do you need to adapt? Where do you need to make changes? As always, thanks ever so much for watching us and listening to this episode of Tickety Boo, and we'll catch up with you in the next episode.
If you or someone close to you needs to access mental health support, please contact your GP, or if it's out with normal office hours, get in touch with NHS 24 on 111. Alternatively, contact the Samaritans on 116 123. All calls are free of charge from any phone. You can also find more support information on the Tickety Boo website, ticketyboopodcast.co.uk.